Derek Gilman here with the Green Flower Grow Quest. I'm here in beautiful Mendocino County, California, home of the Emerald Triangle, and also home of Freeborn Selections and Mean Gene. Hey, Mean Gene, how you doing?
Hey, good, man.
So yeah, we're here today to try some of your herb in one of our favorite methods, which is smoking a joint.
Yeah, man.
So I understand you're going to twist one up from it for us,
We're going to twist one up.
Far out.
We got the
What did you bring out here?
Jarrow 2 cross Jarrow 1. So this is a root beer cross, but it's a little bit different. It's got a little bit of it's got kind of a black jelly bean, root beer, Coca-Cola kind of a thing going on with it. Some of that black licorice, really nice, coming from the black Affy. And it's got the headband in it, LA Kush. It seems like from seeing other people's work too that some of that licorice comes through from some of the Kushes too, which is neat because I had it from the black Afghani, which is a really pure heirloom landrace. And then I cross it with this other thing just thinking, oh, that would be cool, you know, it's a hot strain, people really like it. And then it turns out that, you know, it was like this licoricey thing with this licoricey thing. And some of them, they just have that. They smell like root beer and Coca-Cola, and they have this like great, really enjoyable, you know.
I'm almost getting a little floral scent off this
one
too. For
really
you know?
Floral, and I always go for stuff that's floral. I like the smells. It doesn't necessarily have to be like blasting you, you know. But I like there to be that, like, you know, you wouldn't smell this if you walked into a room and it smelled like this. You wouldn't think that was cannabis. You'd go, that's interesting. What is that? Is
it's
that
almost
a
like a candy. That's what I was about to say.
Very candy.
For what it's worth, I can still smell it from here.
Yeah. So.
I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah, it's awesome. So what I like to do is I'll go ahead and kind of go through real quick and remove everything that's really a stem and it's not flower.
Yep.
That really sticks right out. A little bit of the leaf that's on the outside I already pulled off of this because this wasn't trimmed, and so I'll kind of pull some of it off, kind of take out anything that's little stems that are like this that are going to break the paper, especially if I'm rolling club, because these papers are so light, it's crazy. These ones I remember my friend showing me, you know, like you take this and you light it on fire and let it go.
I've done that
and there's
demo.
almost no ash, and you can catch the ash and rub it in your hand and your hand will be clean. That's how little ash there is.
It's how pure the papers are and how little paper there is there.
Yep.
Because the idea is to smoke the cannabis and taste the cannabis. We don't want to taste paper. We don't want to taste glue.
Yeah.
We don't want to, we definitely don't want any glue in our lungs if we can help it.
And so those are really the standard of paper, and other papers that I use, I mean, they're not very practical. Say if you have like sweaty hands or your hands are like moist from any kind of stuff out in the weather or
not
whatever.
Not gonna work.
They'll fall apart, you know?
Yeah.
So, so those are really what I judge other papers against. Like I like raws because raws, as far as smoking, they're really similar. Elements are good like that, but once again, elements are a little bit more of a flimsy paper. Raws are really a practical paper. You can roll with them really easy. I'm in the habit of rolling stuff up in my hand. It's just how I've started doing it, from rolling lots of different places, and
it's much different than my technique.
Not taking a break. So you can see what I do basically is as opposed to crushing the weed, I actually pop the weed. So the weed has its features, and now this is something that I get from, I tend to breed things to be stuff that is poppable like this because I've always found it to smoke better. I think a big part of the appeal of OG and Sour Diesel and Chem Dog has been that when you break it up for a joint, even if you grind it, it tends to stay in little pieces. You'll notice with Diesel, even when you grind it, it's like a little pile of little tiny chunks.
Yeah.
And I think that really helps with the smokability, and I think it makes stuff be able to be appreciated by a wider scope of people.
And you think that's more strain dependent? I always attributed that to the dryness level. You know, like if it was too dry, it's going to go to dust.
Well, it's a matter of, what's interesting with this is really dry weed.
Yep.
But because of the fact that it has big features that are easy to separate, what happens is when you look at it, you can see it's broken from its structure, but very few of the actual features are broken. Okay, there's all the whole pods. It's all there.
The individual bracts.
The individual bracts. So what's going to happen now is those are going to make all these nice little flavor caverns in there. And also where I grow, there's a certain humidity level during flowering.
Okay.
And the humidity causes things to be a little bit more developed and separate. Whereas if you live where it's more arid and you grow stuff, this is harder to accomplish.
Gotcha.
But if you find the right strain, you can pull it off, you know? So basically what I do is I arrange the weed in my hand like this. There's still, in this, there's still some little chunks that I should probably pop. But
see, I have a grinder, I've got a rolling tray, I've got all this
yeah,
equipment.
and that's how I used to always do stuff, you know? And then I had a friend from the Caribbean, from St. Lucia, named Enoch. And one time I was at a place and I went, oh, I'm gonna go roll this up in the car. And he goes, give me that, man. Me can roll him anywhere. And it was windy. We were in Hawaii, you know, and it was whipping wind. And he just took it.
You're like,
he
yeah,
put his
see
hand
this.
in the bag, one hand, and he basically pulled out a joint. And then he licked it, put his bag away, and he put it together. And I went, whoa, how'd you do that? And so then I started kind of checking it out, you know. And then I had other friends who, you know, like, you know, the thing is, it's like, they call it, you know, little tiny bit of weed there.
There's there's no waste. You had it all
They call
stuck.
it, you know, I don't know if you can see again. You see it's a pile of individual features there. Those are actually whole flowers. None of those flowers are broken when you look at it.
So the benefit of using your fingers and
the
also
benefit of using the fingers, yes. And then you can see that when I had it in my hand, I already had it kind of shaped, right?
Yep.
So it was already kind of shaped into what?
Into a joint cylinder.
Into
shape.
a joint cylinder. So then now when I go like this and I go to shape it, I'm hardly doing anything. I'm just kind of making it be in the right place. So then I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna tuck it like this, tuck it down here, try not to overlap too much, and then with a club, the extra paper, you actually bite it off, and this is what makes the stickiness, is the fibers of the paper. So what I actually do is put the paper to my tongue, and then I pull it off like that. And that rough texture is what actually will stick, because when it gets folded over and you lick it and your fingers rub against it, those fibers will stretch out and they'll wrap around the other paper.
So this is one of the beauties of connoisseurship, okay? Because Gene here is doing it entirely different than I do it. I do a pre-fold at the top edge of the paper.
And that works great too. It's the same concept.
And then it's the same exact concept.
But this way, I control the overlap. If the joint's bigger, then...
And you're doing more of a cone too, it looks like.
A little bit. Over the years, I've started rolling more cones, because what I realized is if you roll a pretty big joint and it's the same size the whole way,
yep,
when you get to the roach and you throw away the roach, you throw away a lot of weed. But if you roll it like a cone, when you get down to the end, there's almost nothing there.
Tiniest bit.
So then I always carry a knife. So then I'll use that knife to just do a little bit of a push. I don't want to break nothing out. And then I'll kind of take this and I'll kind of make it so that it gets to the point where it'll want a good little end to suck in some fire. Make sure this end's not too loose. This is the part that gets handled, so it really needs to be there. Then you can see there's a tiny bit of space there. That leaves just enough room for us to actually close it down this way, right there. And then in your hand, there you got a nice little bomber ready to go. And then
no tools
cross
required.
your fingers and pray that it doesn't run on camera, you know?
Yeah, no, I don't think so, man.
I think it'll be good.
Required.
You got a lighter?
That was fantastic. Yeah, I do. There you go, man.
These days I smoke very rarely, so
that's a torch.
You're gonna
Zippo.
Okay, cool.
So
you're gonna see me now get really high off of smoking some good herb. Okay, I see.
There you go.
Interesting.
So one of the things
Torch
I love
Zippo.
about cannabis connoisseurship,
all right, that lighter was a little aggressive from what I thought it was.
is the way it's so individualistic to each person. There's so many ways to express your connoisseurship, either by your preferred consumption method, your preferred strain to consume. we both like joints, we both like club papers, we roll them entirely different from one another. Pressurized.
It'll get going even anyway because it's rolled really even.
Yeah. No,
And it's not wet weed by any means. Pretty nice. It's not a really like an overpowering kind of a taste. It's just kind of like a earthy, rich, enjoyable, a certain level of sweetness.
I just remember back in the day, it was always about, the biggest hit and holding it in as long as you can.
Even
just
that is in a club like that with that nice cured weed, And it honestly, the weed isn't quite getting as light of an ash as it could because it's burning so fast that the fire is almost jumping around it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You can see how it's burning. It's like it's just going from one place to the next just like that.
But you can just see how light and fluffy that ash is.
Oh yeah, no, it's not bad ash. Yeah.
No, as opposed to something that has the charcoal or the chunks in it, that's just light and fluffy,
Yeah.
and that's just, that's a testament
And
to the...
you can taste it, I mean, people say, oh, the white ash is what it's all about, and it's like, yeah, it's, it should be light, nice ash, but the deal with this is that it's rolled so it's barely held together in that paper. So as it's burning, it's not burning like a tight little fire that's really able to burn everything, which is another reason why it tastes so good like that, because you're not quite burning it the same. You know what I mean?
I've noticed this for a while, that if you roll the joint too tightly, you also lose a bit of flavor. So further to the fact how you broke it up with your fingers, you wanted those little chunks, okay? But you also then rolled it loosely. In addition to that, you didn't really kind of do it tightly, and it's that airflow. I think it's that combination of the, the airflow that's, the ratio perhaps of the smoke to the air.
For sure.
That just helps you taste it more.
Yeah, and when you roll it tight, what's going to happen is it's going to hold back the burning. It's going to keep it from being able to move. And so it's going to take all its time to burn every little bit of fuel out of that, when in reality, we're not really trying to burn, we're only burning it because we want to get the good stuff off of it, and because we like the ritual of smoking something. But you don't necessarily need it to just sit there and go burn, 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 burn all the way,
Yeah,
So
yeah, the ritual. That's something, again, when it comes to cannabis connoisseurship for me, that is really, that I've come to enjoy over the years, is the ritual. The process of actually, breaking it up, rolling it up. The smoking, the sharing that experience with somebody else.
Why don't you share that experience over here?
All right, absolutely.
Send it over there. It was his idea in the first place.
Request from our producer, and we shall accommodate.
It's good, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's another thing oftentimes cannabis might have a certain terpene or aroma profile when you smell it, but when you smoke it and combust it, it can be entirely either that same, aroma profile transfers through to flavor. Sometimes it doesn't transfer through at all.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's something completely different.
Sometimes it's in a cool way, like those spicy frankincense-y things you're talking about.
Yeah.
That, you don't know that until you burn it. You don't smell that on the weed, but as soon as it burns, you're like, boom, it's like magic. It just comes out of there,
It's funny
which
you
is
say
really
that,
cool.
yeah, because the spicier, like that frankincense that you sometimes find with certain varieties, it's not apparent when you smell the raw flower.
Yeah.
It only reveals itself once you've combusted it.
Yep.
And then it's so fun.
Those ones are cool, man.
Then you can leave the room. That's another favorite technique of mine, is that, you smoke a joint in a room, walk out, kind of cleanse your
That's
palate.
when you know the spice.
With some fresh air,
That's how
and
you
then
know
you
it's
walk
spice.
back into that room again.
If I know I have weed that's got that when it burns, and I've already discovered that, I give it to someone else and I'm all, here, light this up, because I want to smell it when it lights, because if I've tasted it, I'm already going to be like just marinated in it, and I won't be able to notice it,
Yeah,
So.
and that's another phenomenon, is to be, sometimes I'll enjoy when someone else is the first person to spark it, you get a different sense of that smell secondhand than you do after you've taken that first hit. But yeah, a good way to recreate it is to leave the room and then come back in again,
Yep.
and you see what's been left in the air.
It cleanses the palate, and then you can see.
I've also found that the truly special herb, you know, that's a good way to it's a good way to judge it as well. You know, you walk out, you come back in. Not all herb is going to smell good when you come back into that room. Sometimes it just smells smoky.
Hindu Kushes and Afghanis, you know, Afghani Paki, stuff from the Hindu Kush in that region. The hazes, some of like the Thais and the trippy sativas, they have like that spice, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the ones that are like in the perp family, like Urkel or cherry pie or things like that. You walk in and you're like, I can smell that, you know? There's only
Very
so many
distinctive.
that really come through like that. A lot of stuff is like, you can't tell. I'm stoned, man.
I am really starting to feel the effects myself, and not sure how much longer I want to be on camera. Gene, thank you so much. That was a whole lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And thanks for digging in with us on the Green Flower Grower's Quest. This is Derek Gilman. Until next time.